let's see if we can't get that lube pump out of there. I ordered a new chain. That one ain't too bad, but it's got a master link, and they came out with an endless chain specifically built for this application. I got one of those coming. It actually wasn't too bad, $13 and change, something like that, from Agco. Still a good number. I can list that. The sprockets look good. I think they're still available. I didn't even try because, like I say, they look really good. But it's going to want to hit this support coming back. It's reading up some on the book. Got to get lines off and stuff. Was also talking with Adam Seuss. He just took one out of a 2150, which isn't chain driven. It drives off that shaft that's the counter shaft for the transmission. And he still had to split the pump in order to get it off and not hit this brace. So I'm going to see what we can do. Also, one of our viewers, Aaron, he's working on a 1955 and had the same issue and finally decided it was pumping oil. It was good. And who knows, we might come to that conclusion as well. I've thought about the bolts for this support actually go through the housing. You may have seen these 4 bolts underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4, and wondered what the heck are those for. Well, now you know. They hold these anchor braces. The braces were added to larger horsepower tractors because as it's turning these bull gears forward, those gears are turning this way to turn these gears this way. So they're trying to actually also climb up the gear because of Newton's third law, every action equal and opposite reaction. So if it's taking 100 horsepower to turn this bull gear this way, there's also 100 horsepower that's trying to make it come up this way. And that's why you have a frame and everything to hold everything in place. And so in the higher horsepower applications, I don't believe the 1755 uses these. I don't think like the white 285 ran them either, which definitely makes getting to that lube pump a lot easier. It's interesting, the 2105 book, which uses well, there was a couple variations on that pump, but it uses the same chain setup. It's in the same location, uses these same tie downs, and it does not even really address these tie downs getting in the way. It just says push the pin up there, take the chain off, push the pin up there and turn it and pull it out like it's magically not going to hit. Later ones were offset, and that way you could turn it. That would actually move the gear closer. You could get the chain off with your endless chain and then slide it out. So I don't know if if you could rotate it the other way and get the whole thing offset the other direction. Not too sure. I haven't had to mess with too many of these, but they can go bad, and when they do, they really cause a lot of grief. So I want to check it out while I'm in here. Nope. Ping. I just pulled the drain / pickup screen. Dirty. Not the best looking. Probably a good idea to get that pump out of there. You may have said, Chris, why haven't you taken that chain off? It does have a master link. Well, the one I'm putting back in won't. So I'm wanting to see how hard it's going to be to change the chain that can't be broken open. Don't really want to pull that top sprocket off if I don't have to. It's fine. It's staked onto that shaft, so then I have to try to drill that staking mark out and probably replace it, because then there won't be anything to stake it with again, because it'll come up to the same spot, of course. So yeah, we're gonna try to get this baby out. To get this baby out, right down in there is a spring-loaded pin, and it, my hand conveniently covers it. You just push down with a punch or something. And, well, you're just gonna have to believe me, because every time I do, and then free hands and stuff. But that'll disengage the pump. That's all it holds in is a spring-loaded. You'll see it in a moment. And if you turn the pump one way or another, that'll keep that little poppet against the frame and not in the hole, and then you can slide it out. So let's hope that maybe this is on an eccentric and I can twist it and let it loosen up the chain. And I can only go so far because the sump tube is there. I may have to try to get that off. Well, bad news, it doesn't seem to change the doesn't do an eccentric. That makes me sad. And the doohickey is popped up. The poppet has popped. So I have probably done bad things. And as you see, it's going to hit that brace. We may have to deal with that. I guess first thing I'll do is see if I can't get a wrench down in there and get this suction tube. Boy, if I had a super long deep well, because that tube goes almost to the bottom, I could probably come up through the hole, but that is not anything I've got that will still fit through that hole as well. They did leave a provision. You can just see where you can get something skinny down through there. Here, I'll wiggle the pump so you can maybe see the pin move. But you can stick your tool down through there to push the pin in to get it in. So I think I'm going to do that to kind of get it back to home base and think this out a little more. Well, it may be crazy, but I'm going to try it just for you viewers. I'm going to unbolt this plate and try sliding it over, just sticking my finger in there and doing some rough measurement. I think that's going to get me enough clearance to get things moving. A word of caution, I haven't done this before, so but underneath each one of these support plates is a set of shims, and they're factory set, and they stamp right here in the frame. This side has got 17 thousandths. This side's got 16 thousandths under it. So the biggest thing I'm concerned about is sliding it, that the shims slide around or don't slide around and get out of place, and I can't get them lined back up. If it does come to that, I will probably have to at least pull the axle and pull this bull gear out, but I may have to pull the brake housing, which the bull gear has to come out for that. For those of you that wonder why when you try to slide a brake housing out, it is captured. This is part of the housing down here, and so when it goes in, it hits this gear, can't go any farther. So in order to get that housing out, this gear has to come out. In order for the gear to come out, the axle has to come out of the middle. So we pull the whole axle housing after taking the snap ring off. Then we can lift the gear out and or at least move it back some. But lift the gear out, get it out of the way. Then I have to take the brakes all apart, take the bolts out in there, slide that out so we can get into where we need to be. So I'm really hoping shims stay where they're supposed to, because I might just be making myself a lot more work than I really need. I've considered notching this plate. It seems like it's plenty thick, but I'm guessing they did that for a reason. That weren't too hard. As you can see, they have a copper crush washer on them to help keep the oil in. Currently, shims are lined up. Let's tempt my fate. I can see the shim. So far, so good. Looks like they moved with it. Okay. That looks like it should miss. Okay, I'm going to try it with the chain on just because I'm crazy. And I want to... Oh, not that one. Or yes, it can. Yes, it can. This Phillips screwdriver is going to work. She's still missing. That chain's binding me now. That could make it interesting. So I would say the next course of action would be to try pulling the sprocket off with the chain. I know, I could just pull the chain off, but I'm thinking about the reassembly process. I suppose I could tackle that when I get to it. Or I could take it off up there. Work, 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 work. I'm trying all these options in the hopes of helping you guys out from having to put as much work into it in the future if you're doing the same job. Let's try sliding the gear off. I definitely think I can get it off now. I'm just making extra work for myself with that whole chain thing. And my goal. I'm not taking this gear off and having an endless chain. I don't know why I left such a long stub on the end of it. I wonder. You know what? Looks like a straight pair will work better. Boing. Yes, Knipex. Knipex, Knipex, whatever. To the rescue. Oh yeah, and I just saw the key fall. Dang it. Guess that's why I've got a magnet somewhere. Well, it's down in there now. I can't put that genie back in the bottle. Man, if this shaft was just a... It might get a trimming if I reuse this pump. I do have another new one. All right, I'm gonna relent and break the chain. Right there's the master link. And I'm thinking we'll deal with the new one when we go back together. And I'll find a magnet to start fishing. Let's start off with the bad news. Let's see, I dropped that key. I got the chain off and I dropped part of the link. So now I have to be on a mission to find that stuff. I'm just good. Good at being bad. But I am quite sure now that I have the gear off. Let's set it there. In off of lighting, I will take my Phillips screwdriver, push in on that pin, and ta-da! It is out. Whoa, dude, that was a moment. So, I can tear this apart. I gotta get that snap ring off the inside. That was keeping me from splitting it. Well, or now I could split it because the gear's off the end. Doesn't matter. Like I say, I'm gonna fish until I find my other parts. So we'll get back to you in a moment. Well, I looked on the floor and somehow or another that bugger found its way right through the drain hole. It was on the floor, so that's one part down. I don't think I got so lucky on the master link piece. Hopefully I didn't fly into the spider gears in the differential. It took a lot more fishing than I wanted to do, but I got it. I found this piece of PTO brake. I know it wasn't current. Oops. Because when I took it apart, the PTO brake was good, but it was hiding underneath the draft control arm. Draft sensing arm, whatever. And it really wasn't gonna hurt anything. It's a fiber material, so if it did get in the gears, it would have just gotten chewed up. So it must have been from an old repair, just kind of hid down there. But I found that link that went shooting off when I was taking the chain off. Wish I'd been recording. Maybe I would have been able to look back and see its trajectory. I went to the auto parts store and got this magnet. I had another one, but just flip-flopping around. This one's got a somewhat stiff shaft that bends easily but doesn't break. Worked really good for reaching in those nooks and crannies. I found it under the bull pinion, so it was at least in an out-of-way area if I hadn't found it, but I didn't know. For all I knew, it could have gone into the differential. The great thing is after searching around as much as I did, that is the only piece of metal I pulled out. There wasn't even filings in there. This thing's in really good shape, other than a little bit of rust, surface rust it got from sitting around for a few years, but fortunately it was sitting inside a barn, so just condensation moisture, not rain type moisture. One of the things I did was hooked it up to the cordless drill so I could spin the differential in case that master link piece fell down into there. I could turn it if it got caught. At least it was only under the power of a drill, not the engine, and hopefully it would fall out, because I'd been searching for a while and hadn't had any luck yet. So now that I've got that all hooked up, let's just have a little fun time here and look at the transmission spinning. Right now we're in high range. I do believe this would be third gear. We got this middle part here is the input shaft. It's spinning whatever speed the, well, not the engine, whatever comes out of the over and under. And then this shift collar locks either this gear, high range, to the input shaft, or this gear, low range, to the input shaft. You'll notice there's a lube line going to low range. And there is a reason for that, and not the front. When we're in high range, look how much faster that's turning than the input shaft. I've kind of covered this in another video, but I didn't have the drill hooked up where I could demonstrate it as well. So you get, that's just low speed on my drill. Of course, you lose the sense of it there. Everything feels good. Slower speed like that, you really notice. Let's shift into the low range. That would be this one in the middle. There it goes. Now you can see this is actually turning slower than the input shaft, and the relative speeds are a lot closer. That's why this one doesn't have to be pressure lubed. It actually just rides on the splines. So whatever splash oil ends up in the splines can go in there and help lubricate it. So this is why I tell people, if you are running a stationary PTO, shift it into the low range, because for some reason your pump was to go out. This shaft is locked to the input shaft, so you're not going to burn it up because they are turning the exact same speed. This is lubricated by splash oil, so it doesn't matter. It's going to get its lubrication as long as you have oil in there like you're supposed to. Right now this one's drained out, so that's why oil ain't coming up. The other thing is to keep the oil changed and keep your filter changed. If you start getting moisture in there and the milk or oil is getting milky in the winter time, that milk is the water getting suspended in the oil, and it makes little ice crystals, kind of almost slush. So you know your transmission's still going to turn, but it will plug up your oil filter And so it seems like I usually hear more about guys having this gear getting welded to the input shaft in the wintertime because their oil filter got plugged with slush, starved this for oil, and next thing you know, she's burnt up. And then same thing can happen with dirt. Need to put some diesel fuel here and spin this around. That'll help rinse some of this stuff out. There's my fun with drive gears. From there, we got high range drives this gear on the counter shaft, low range drives this gear on the counter shaft. Then there's another, it'd be your first gear and your third gear up front here. This should be your, first and third, so this would be second and fourth. And then that one's fifth and sixth. Or no, fifth and sixth are in the same range on this tractor. So this would be fourth and sixth. Or no, that'd be fourth and sixth, and this would be 5 and 2. And then back here under that drive is the reverse gear. There's a gear down there. How well we can see it. There's the reverse gear down there. Boop. So all the other gears are freewheeling. You can see that one's actually, hopefully you can see, that one is actually turning backwards from back down there. Back to high range. We're doing donuts. All right, that's probably enough fun and explanation time for now. I'm just glad I got this baby out of there. And like I say, I didn't pull out anything else, so that's even better. I'll do a little more fishing up front here just to make sure there's always, whenever I got the cover off, stick a magnet in. I found bolts, I found lock washers, needles from bearings, previous repair type stuff usually. Let's get this lube pump back together. It's probably going to be an effort and futility, but trying to slide on that one-piece chain, haven't gotten in there yet. Here's the drive gear, and as you can see, there's a lot of shaft past the snap ring groove. So I think I'm going to take a cutting wheel and cut some of that off. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have to put the chain over this and try to slide this on. I'm predicting it's not going to work, but I'm going to give it the old college try. And so if I can knock off some of that end there that just sticks out and does nothing, then chamfer it back down, I think it'll increase my chances. And now's the time to do it while it's all apart. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to make that much difference, but I did knock a little off from there. Still left a little meat behind it to be able to hold the snap ring. So let's get this baby back together. There is the snap ring on the back side here. Just get that on while it's easy. Come on, Nipix. Let's go. They do hold good. And then guess that didn't go to the floor. There should be 2 keys in here. Now I'm probably gonna wish I'd put the key in it and then a snap ring. Might do that. There we go. You know you go on there. There you go. We'll put a little assembly lube down in there so she's got good suction that first time she fires up, not running dry. Oh yeah, look at that grease squeeze out of there. There is no gasket on this. If it does happen to leak out, it's just going back in the transmission. So it's not a big deal. I think I'll clean the face of this one up just a little bit. And of course, where the bolts are set up, there's only one pattern that'll line up, especially with the dowel pins. Look at that, turns nice and free without a key in it, but it goes on the shaft good. That's the important part. All right, here's the original chain, which got some side to side, a little loose. AGCO offers an endless chain. It was only 13 bucks, so not bad. No master link. So one less thing to fail, but it's designed to work with. They came out later on in the 2105s, partway through production. They just offset the pump a little bit from the casting. Let's see, this side's up because there's the retainer pin, spring loaded. But you essentially push that down and turn this, and when it turns, since it's off center, it actually moves the gear closer to the other gear sprocket, and then the chain gets loose enough where you can take it off. Well, this one's centered up, so there's not going to be any change in the position of the shaft as I turn it, so I don't have that advantage. This has got some side to side. It's a brand new chain. So, as I had mentioned before, the top gear is staked down there pretty darn good. You can't get that anymore, so I don't want to take the chance of ruining it. And so I'm going to try to slip this in, and that's partially why I'm thinking maybe if I slide the sprocket on with the chain after the pump is in. But just to keep it interesting, let's try it with the gear on and see how much success we have. I've got another idea that hopefully will work if this doesn't, or I could always put a master link in it. Be nice if it works this way, because I put it, yeah, there it is. Let's see, did I put it together the right way? There's a master link. If I get, or I'm sorry, the key. If I get that in now, I don't have to worry about it falling out in the transmission. And I can hold that shaft up to get the snap ring on. So this might be the way it ends up going with another solution, if that makes any sense at all. Hopefully it will by the end of the video. So yeah, getting that shaft all the way through. You can't push on it once it's in the tractor. You can out here. So I think I already know how this is going to go. There. She dropped in the groove. Well, the old assembly lube's got her turning stiff. But like I say, it'll create some suction when it gets going. I think that's part of the reason they always had this mounted low, was it was close to the oil, so it didn't take much for it to get primed up. Well, let's see what kind of hijinks we can do trying to get this in. We are going to start with this method and go from there. We'll see how this works for putting it in and not being in the way of everything. You got your differential ring gear right here, bull pinion here, and back here where you can't see it's bull gear, and in there is where the gear goes. I'm sorry, the pump. That's where the pump goes. I need to get a long punch to push that poppet down, but let's see if we can't get somewhere with this. Yeah, I think this is going to be an effort and futility. I think I said that already. Now we're back to over here. And I'm wondering if I take the snap ring off and slide the sprocket out, if I can get the chain on it, and then, well, let's see if that's worth the effort. There. Makes a difference when you come around from the side. Okay, let's see if I can do this without the key falling out and going God knows where. Look at that, look at that. Then there's that whole fore and aft thing. I am going to, is that going to pull out all right? I was going to say I put some grease on it so it's less likely to fall out. I guess for the moment we'll tempt fate. There. That's where I wanted it. Well, my fat arm fit all the way down there. The answer is yes. Will it fit down there twice? The answer is yes. Okay, you get back up on the sprocket. Let's just turn it that way. Is it? Is it? Oh my goodness. It's gonna work. I don't think it would have worked if I hadn't shaved off that little extra bit. It might need some encouragement. Don't you turn and drop that key valley out, because they're not lined up. Maybe I should pull it back off. I just want to get it to where the keyway's lined up. That would probably make things go better. I'm so close. Okay, maybe the solution is to try to keep one from turning. But I'm not sure how I would do that. I really thought, I wish I had thought about lining that keyway up before. So, you know, those of you watching, learn from my mistakes. Oh, all right. Ping. Now, if I can just see, oh, I can see. Don't you come out on me. I might have to get a different thingamajig to, this is too fat. Just like me. That looks pretty close. I gotta get a screwdriver that I can reach to. Ooh, what's this? A screwdriver. Don't you, oh, it's magnetic. Don't, no. I did not want that. Crap on a stick. Son of a gun. Look at that. There it is. Why did it have to be a magnetic one? Okay. This might be a job for the long needle nose pliers. Let's hope. Stay. Okay. Oh, it peeled it out. But you go away, magnetic screwdriver. It's going on, and there it is. Much less slop than before. Okay, now I need to get the, it did. If I put a little bindy bind on the shaft, I could get it to slide out. Looks like I have full exposure of the snap ring. I gotta say, this is actually going better than I thought it would. I haven't had to use any animal sounds. Now I just need this to go on there without fighting. Maybe if I do it upside down. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Yep. Snap ring is in the groove. The chain is mounted. Endless chain. It can be done. I'm pretty sure if I hadn't ground that little bit of extra off the shaft there, it wouldn't have happened. So now I need to get the sump tube in. That could be fun. Before I rotated the pump and that made it more accessible. I need to wash this up a little first, but I'm super happy. Yeah, the battery was running low on that other light, but here we could see it is installed. Still gotta get that sump in. We'll try putting you guys here. You're probably just going to see a lot of my hand or something. All that needs is a little tightening down. So I will take, what did I do with you, magnetic screwdriver? Now you're all right. Push the pin and rotate this until that's up where I can get it a little better. Oh, what size was that baby? So that went well. As you can see, I clocked the pump counterclockwise a little bit so I could get that suction tube tightened down. From there, just turned it back until the peg popped in back into place. Everything is in its place and turning. I now have an endless chain in there, and it's not sagging like the other one, so I feel much better about that. If they get bad enough, they can even hit the ring gear, and we don't need that. So, grinding off, or yeah, cutting off the little bit of the end of that shaft made, I think, made the difference. I had some people stop by, but kept working, and so I got the lines put back in. So those are all hooked up. I even put in the drain plug, which is also a screen. I don't know if we can see that very well from here. But it's down there. So there we go. That's the lube pump saga. It is ready to go. That went much better than I thought it was going to. I will get these tightened down. I haven't done that yet, but I guess we don't need to put that on video. It's just 2 bolts up from the bottom with copper washers on them. Torque to spec. But I'm going to do that now while I'm thinking about it, before I forget and the oil comes dripping out through the bolts. But we'll call that an episode. As always, I appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned why it's important to change rear end oil and filters. And so even if you're not going to tackle these jobs yourself, you might save yourself some grief down the road from just knowing how they're built. So thanks again, and we will see you in the next one.